Hey fly tires, welcome back. My name is Matt and thank you for stopping by the channel. Now I've got a super simple pattern for you today. Now there's no history on this thing. If you look it up, you won't find anything but, maybe this video. I mean, it's just one of these 1,600 flies in the Federation of Fly Fishers pattern encyclopedia. Now I would consider this a specialty fly, meaning I'm not gonna tie up 24 of these and take up a lot of space in my box. And this pattern is probably never gonna be anybody's go-to fly. But as a specialty fly, it really could have a use for you. Imagine this, you see some great water you're fishing, maybe it's rippled, maybe it's a couple feet deep and you think this is great soft hackle water. But you're throwing your go-to soft hackle through there, maybe it's a size 10 or 12 and you just can't get anything. But you know there's some fish in there. So one thing you can do in cases like this is just tie on something smaller to the bend of the hook, maybe about 18 inches behind it, because oftentimes the fish will see your first fly, but they just might not commit and change their mind at the last second. But sometimes when you've got a smaller fly behind it, they will be attracted by the big fly, kind of change their mind, and then say, oh, what's this? And then go for the smaller fly. Now that's a tactic that works with nymphs and streamers and certainly these type soft hackle flies. So again, probably not anybody's go-to fly, but having a couple of these things in your box is really not a bad idea. So it's a super simple pattern, 2 components, Peacock herl and Starling. So take a look at it, let me know what you think. We'll give it a shot right now. So there it is in the vise. You can tell behind my finger this thing is tiny. The pattern calls for size 16 or 18. I'm doing this on a size 16. And for a fly this size, I'm stepping it down to a 12/0 thread. I've got a black 12/0 right here, very thin stuff, and I'm going to put a base down only halfway, maybe to the point, or about right in front of the point. And the pattern also did not mention a wire rib, but I'm going to put one in anyway because Peacock herl is always pretty brittle. I'm just using UTC in black, extra small. So the only purpose of this is simply to reinforce the Peacock herl. So one wrap there, pull it back. Let's go ahead and get this caught in, take a thread back to the front of the body. Now let's take a Peacock herl. It's not a sword fiber, but not necessarily from a strong pack. If you do only have a strong pack, pick one of the smallest ones you've got. If you've got an eye like this, and I do recommend tying with these eyes, they're really pretty cool. Take one from right up under the eye. They're just a little bit stronger and they should be small enough for you. Now I'm going to tie it in from the thick side. See where I'm grabbing it right there? That's the thick side. And this is the tip, the smaller side. So I'm going to just start it somewhere up here toward the base of this herl. And this will just give us a little bit more thickness on the way back. And let's see, that is about as long as the body's going to be. It's only about a half, maybe a little bit more than half the length of the fly, but not much more. So let's just wrap these touch and turns all the way up to the front. Okay, you got a couple, let's throw a couple more turns in here just to lock this in. Probably break that off. Now I'm going to counter wrap this rib. I'm going to try and be careful not to trap too many of these as I go up. You'll probably trap a few, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'm zigzagging it through here the best I can. Okay, now when we get up here, just a couple of wraps to lock this in. Maybe a couple more since it is a counter wrap, and it will spin backwards on you if you're not careful. So put some tension on your thread. You can spin this off easily enough. Now, this is really the only hard part of the fly. I'm using a Starling for the soft hackle part. This feather in my finger is maybe a ½ inch. It's tiny. And we're going to put one wrap, maybe 1.5. It's a pretty sparsely hackled fly. So I'm going to catch this in right up here. My thread, if you're If you find your thread jumping forward on you, just spin it counterclockwise and that should help a little bit. Okay, so got that caught in where I want to start the wraps. Just really lock it in. We can snip off this excess right here. Now, if you have these type hackle pliers, they will work. You just have to be a lot more careful. They'll slip out or break it. I want to use the spring-loaded pliers for this one. I find it's just a little bit easier when you have such a tiny feather to work with. And I'm going to grab it, not all the way to the end, but let's see, pretty close to the end. And then I'm just going to wrap it like I would any soft hackle. You just have to be careful and go a little bit slower because, well, you don't have much to work with. And that is one. I'm going to try, see if I can push my luck and get another, almost another full wrap down here. Maybe this is just another half. So let's try to capture that in right there. And with 2 wraps, it slipped out of my hackle pliers, but I think we're going to be fine. We just got to snip off this tip. I'm going to go ahead and do one more wrap in here before I try and snip off this tip. You can probably break it off. It's not that stiff or not that strong, but just breaking it, you might pull the whole thing out, so you'd want to be careful. Okay, so it's pretty sparsely hackled right there. That was almost 2 turns. I'd say it was 1 3/4 turns. So pull these back and then just work on your head. Just a few turns right there. We've got that starling locked in pretty well. Now take your thread back up here and clean up the eye, the head if you want. We've got a couple of fibers sticking off right there. Doesn't really matter, that we can bury that with our head cement or just with thread. So a few turns to build up your head. Now we're ready for the whip finish. Just preen these out see if we need to. Okay, I think that's going to be fine. There's not much to this fly. It's just a little touch of metallic peacock herl and then some black soft hackle eggs. So snip our thread right here. And a drop of head cement on the front there, and this bird's eye soft hackle is done. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Take care, and we'll see you later.